Now that we have the debt purchase recorded, we're going to look at what happens when these obligations start to become a reality for the debtor. And so on the first obligation, 6 months after we acquire the debt, the debtor has to pay us interest because that's part of the contract. They said they'd pay interest every 6 months. So we've got to calculate how much cash we are going to receive. Remember, we're the investor. And I've made some notes down here for you. We've learned how to do all of this back when we learned about bonds from the perspective of the debtor and how we amortize the premium or the discount. But let me just go through it again. So the value that they're going to have to pay us, the amount they have to pay us, is calculated as the face value of the bonds, which is $100,000 in this case, times the stated rate. That's the rate they've agreed to on the face of the bond, which is 13%. However, it's actually 6.5% because these bonds pay interest semi-annually or twice a year. So they're going to have to pay us $6,500 here, 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 and here, and that's what we're recording as the receipt of that cash. However, we don't record $6,500 in interest revenue because we're holding this debt to maturity. We're going to amortize the value of the debt. It will reduce, the carrying value will reduce to the face value, so that when we receive the face value at maturity, because we're going to hold it till it matures, the debt investment account will match the amount we're going to receive in cash at that point in time. So this value, the carrying value, which is what we recorded at the acquisition date, is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it hits 100,000 because it was sold at a premium. And the way you calculate that is you take the beginning carrying value of the period, which is this 102,458.74, and you multiply that by the effective rate, which is 12%. However, remember, these bonds pay interest every 6 months, so you multiply it by 6%. So the interest revenue we recognize is not the cash amount that we receive, and the difference makes the debt investment get smaller. So you can see that we've originally debited the debt investment when we bought it. Now we're going to credit it by $352.48, so it got smaller a little bit. And that'll happen over again every time we receive an interest payment. And this is the formula or method you would go through every time they pay interest if we're going to hold the debt to maturity. And you know, that's one way to do it, is knowing the formulas. And once you've worked with debt and bonds enough times, you can just rattle those formulas off. Or we also learned about this table, and I've done the table ahead of time for us. You could calculate this table for the entire period that the bond is going to be outstanding, and if you did these formulas correctly like I did, you can see that the investment will be decreased by the $352.48. The interest is recorded at $61.47.52, and the cash amount at $6,500. So if you do this little table here, you can easily record your entry for the remainder of the interest payment periods without having to put much thought into it. So that's the entry that we would record for the first interest payment.